Right, that's enough replenishing. Let's gather again. Back you come. Those of you watching online, welcome to the beginning of this meeting. We've got a little bit of faffing around to be doing. People are still collecting their annual reports. If you're watching online, you can find a link on the Facebook page or on the email that was circulated earlier today that had a copy of the annual report. If you need a copy of the minutes of the previous meeting, they'll be available in church to collect when you get there. For those of us in the room, hopefully you've got sight of one of these. There would have been more of them bigger, but the printer hates me when it prints A3, and this was the only one that it managed. I've got slightly inky hands after my adventures this morning, so that's good. And then the copy of the minutes, you'll need those as well. It looks like people are still getting coffee, so that's fine. Yeah. Although Wendy's not been back until now, so that's been helpful. We won't be able to start without Wendy because otherwise we'll have no notes. Yeah, you can have that table. Shall I take the cruets? You are allowed to pick that up. So just as we gather, I wonder if we might pray. I'm going to keep going because we need, otherwise we'll be here until tomorrow, and that's no good. I'm going to pray, and then we'll get on with our first meeting. Loving God, we thank you for all that you are doing in and through the life of this church, through the people who are gathered and all whom we serve. We pray that in this time now, we'd know something of your grace and your mercy, that we'd see your good works, that we would rejoice in all that you are doing, and that you would open our hearts and minds to hear from you how we can be the people you call us to be, that all may come to know that you are Lord of all. Amen. Amen. So we've got two meetings. The first meeting is a public meeting, and everybody who lives in the parish, thank you very much, is welcome to be here. This, you don't need to be on the electoral roll or anything else. You just get to take part in this meeting, and it doesn't have very many things to do. You'll notice on the minutes we have the bit of the public meeting at the beginning. It's quite a short meeting. First of all, does anyone have any apologies? We've had some from Janet. Any other apologies that people have been given who are not able to be with us today? Cool, that's easy. Good stuff. We've got our minutes of the last meeting. It was held, would someone like to propose that these are an accurate record of the meeting that took place last year when Sam and Stella were nominated and accepted as our church wardens, which is good. Thank you, Steve, for proposing that. Anyone like to second the fact that this is a true and accurate record? Thank you, Katie. So now we come to the point of electing our church wardens. I am very grateful for the work of our church wardens. They definitely deserve a round of applause. Thank you very much. The church wardens help us to function. They enable us to exist and to do all that we do. And Sam Cairns and Stella Melling have been fabulous church wardens, very supportive, very helpful. I'm very grateful for what they do. Are you both willing to stand again this term? Thank you very much. Can someone please propose that Sam and Stella are our church wardens? Thank you, Pam, and seconded. Thank you, Jenny. Jolly good. We have church wardens. That's very good news. Now, I know that Stella has said that this will be her last term as church warden. So at this meeting next year, we will need at least, looking at Sam, hopefully, please stay, at least one church warden. So pray through this year. Pray that God would raise up another church warden. Stella works so hard and does lots of other things as well as does Sam in the life of the parish. And so we will need a new church warden next year. Please pray if that would be you. So that brings to an end our first meeting. We have elected our church wardens. Hooray! Meeting number 1 done. Good work, team. Sorry? We don't get another coffee break now, no. Okay, so now we come to our annual parochial church meeting. So this meeting is for the members of the congregations of All Saints and St Andrews in various different forms, for members of the electoral roll and our worshipping community. And there's a bit more to do. There's a few more things that we need to gather together. Hello. One of the things we are going to need to do for both of these meetings, we'll need to grab a sheet of paper and just, if you could all sign yourselves in, that would be super helpful, and we'd know that we were all here. On a clipboard as well. That's great. So do we have any additional apologies from this meeting? We still have Janet. Anyone else? Any other apologies given for today? I think we could probably include Sam and Becca on the apologies list, because they definitely waved and said sorry as they left. So I think that would be an apology. That will be fine. So the next thing we need to do is go through the minutes of the last meeting. We have our minutes before us. It's so exciting to read about all the things that were new last year. On the back page where it says new youth work. I don't know if you've seen chance to look through the annual report yet, but to the church life report, but that's very exciting indeed. Any amendments that anyone would like to make to the minutes? I appreciate this meeting happened a year ago. It's quite hard to remember, but that's one of the vagaries of the Church of England. Are we happy to approve that these are a true and accurate record of the meeting last year? Martin, Julia, thank you. Thank you, Sam, for proposing that these are a true and accurate record. Any seconder of that? Excellent, thank you, Steve. All in favour? Yes? Jolly good. Thank you very much. Are there any matters arising from the minutes of the meeting last year that's not already covered elsewhere in the agenda or through the report? I didn't think if there was, but no. Good news. We're doing well. Are you all feeling excited? I love an annual meeting. I know that the church thinks that the annual meeting is I don't mean this church. I think in general, people are fairly, slightly downcast and melancholy about it. But I think this is an opportunity for us to celebrate all that God is doing and look forward together for all that will happen. And it is a joyful, joyful thing. So, our next task is to review and talk about the electoral roll. Jenny, would you like to come and give us an update on our electoral roll, please? Thank you very much.
Well, I've had to take off one person this year due to them having died. We've gained 10 new people this year, so we're up to 86. Last year we were 77. So if anyone would like to join the roll, there are forms on the font, and just as a few regulations that list on the form. It is good to have some more people. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. That's really helpful. Now, the electoral roll is an important description of who we are as the people of God that gather here. There are forms at the back, as Jenny said. If you're not on the electoral roll, could I please encourage you to consider doing so? Because if, for example, you'd like to serve on PCC, if you'd like to vote in matters that affect the whole life of the church, then being on the electoral roll is a prerequisite to that. So if you're not currently on the electoral roll, please would you consider joining. It's part of the numbers, as we just said. The fact that we've been able to demonstrate numerical growth in this last 12 months is extraordinary. Actually, as you'll see in the report, our numerical growth is really interesting. It's not just in the numbers of people whose names we collect, but actually the number of us who gather to worship every Sunday has become on average twice as many as the number who were gathering to worship before the pandemic. So if you add together all the people who come to the 9 o'clock, all the people that come to the 10:30, and all the unique devices that watch online, which sometimes is a small number and sometimes is bigger, then there are over twice as many people worshipping here in All Saints than before the pandemic happened, which is a joy and a delight. And the ways that we report that, the ways that shapes who we are and how we can interact with the wider deanery and diocese, it shapes all sorts of things. And it's not to say that numbers are the most important thing. They're really, really not. But it's a joy to know that we are alive and there is life and liveliness in all that we do. So please, if you're not already on the electoral roll, can you consider giving that some thought and joining? That would be great. Nothing really happens. It just helps us with those numbers as the kind of core, who are we as this parish? Okay, we've got some elections. There's a few things I want to read out about this. This is about having people serve on the PCC, the Parochial Church Council, the people who gather. You've got to be on the electoral roll to be on the PCC. But first, I've been asked to read this out. Dear church friends, firstly, thank you for all your support and kindness to us both over the last few years that we have attended All Saints. We chose this church to be married and have loved the lively services and being part of worshiping in this wonderful place. However, due to work commitments and now moving to another parish, we have stepped down from both being on the PCC and being involved with the magazine. Although we will be popping in occasionally and continue to watch the services online, we do hope that many of you will come to visit us in Leon Solent, where we have a wonderful view of the sea and where God has some new and exciting adventures for us. Keeping you all in our prayers, with best wishes, Julie and Martin Dark. Which is very nice, isn't it? So there's a note from them. I don't know whether, I'll give that to Wendy, then you can include that in the minutes. So our PCC is constructed by people who are able to be on there, like me. I'm the rector, I get to go to the PCC. I have to chair it and everything, sometimes, but although I've delegated that responsibility to Sam, and she chairs it much better than I do, we usually finish on time. Then there are members of the Deanery Synod, those people who represent us as a parish more widely in the Deanery. And then we have elected members, and those elected members are in 3 groups. So you serve on the PCC for 3 years, and each year, roughly a third of those elected members change, which keeps our PCC fresh. So this year, the elected members that have served from 2019 until 2022 are Simon Cramp, Julie Dark, and Martin Dark. Which actually means that although it says 2 officers, there are 3 vacancies that we have at the moment. Next year, our elected members, so Rolf is currently serving, his term will come to an end next year, and people are welcome to stand again if they would like to. And the following year, Katie and Pam. Clive's been ex officio as an ordinand in training, and so our PCC is made up of 11 members. A couple of things that we've also done. The PCC agreed that the chair of the Friends of St Andrew's Committee would also be ex officio on the PCC, so that relationship will work in both directions. And Jonathan Prest, who's just taken over as the chair, will serve on the PCC as well and be part of that. So we have some vacancies. Those vacancies, there are forms that people have filled in, and hopefully people have been nominated. Lucy, did that happen for you? Okay. So I know that Lucy and Louise are willing to stand on PCC, which I am very grateful. Louise, have you had anyone fill in any forms for you? Okay, so we have 2 people who would like to serve on PCC. Is there anyone else who'd like to serve on PCC? Anyone else new? Yes, if you're on it already, please stay. Well, we're very grateful for both Lucy and Louise volunteering to stand as well. I wonder if we could have someone who would propose. Louise. Thank you, Ruth. Could someone second Louise, please? Thank you, Stella. We'll do the form paperwork afterwards. And then we need someone to propose Lucy, who also serve on PCC. Thank you, Sam. And someone to second Lucy to stand on PCC. Thank you, Pam. Hooray. So there are vacancies. We have the ability as the PCC to co-opt members. One of the things I'm hoping that we'll be able to do is also co-opt a youth voice into our PCC too. So I'm hoping that Zach will be able to join us for some of those meetings as well and speak as a representative of the younger members of our congregation. Simon wasn't re-elected. He has not been proposed or seconded or stood. And yes, can we just give Simon a round of applause for his millions of years doing amazing things? I said to him this morning, we're basically going to co-opt him back on as soon as is needed. And there's loads of grand plans that, I'm teasing, but there are loads of grand plans for the space that we are worshipping in, and the office where the administrator, Denise, will work. And Simon's been leading on that as well. And so we still will need all of his efforts, but I know that he's incredibly busy at the moment. So we're very grateful. Oh, cool. We proposed in a second that Louise, and thank you very much, Katie. It's always good to have people in church, but that we have proposers and seconders for both Louise and Lucy to stand on PCC. All in favour? Anyone against? Let's do it properly. Any abstentions? Done. Yeah. We are very grateful. Thank you very much. Here you go. Here is this helpful piece of paper. Next year. Well, so they are Deanery Synod with you until the Deanery Synod ends next summer. Lovely. A couple of important things that we need to do as the PCC, as the people gathered. We need to review the safeguarding statements that we have as a church and agree together that we support this. This will also drive what the PCC do. We have continued the process of reviewing our policies, ensuring the PCC complies with the duty under Section 5 of the Safeguarding and Clergy Disciplinary Measure 2016, duty to have due regard to the House of Bishops' guidance on safeguarding children and vulnerable adults. We recognise there is much to do in this area. We have also complied with the Diocesan Historic Cases Review process. That's the same statement that we made last year. That work is still ongoing. My hope and intention is that by the time we come to the meeting next year, we won't be in the process. It will all be done. Part of that process, part of the things we need to do, is this safeguarding statement, which I will read out because it is important. The following policy statement was agreed at the meeting held on, hopefully, this date. I think this is something not just that the PCC should do, but that we all do together. We, the church, have adopted the Church of England's safeguarding policies and practice guidance. And in particular, our church is committed to promoting a safer environment and culture, safely recruiting and supporting all those with any responsibility related to children, young people, and vulnerable adults within the church, responding promptly to every safeguarding concern or allegation, caring pastorally for victims, survivors of abuse, and other affected persons, caring pastorally for those who are subject of concerns or allegations of abuse and other affected persons, responding to those that may pose a present risk to others. This parish will create a safe and caring place for all, have a named parish safeguarding officer to work with the incumbent and the PCC to implement policy and procedures, safely recruit, train and support all those with any responsibility for children, young people and adults to have the confidence and skills to recognise and respond to abuse. Ensure that there is appropriate insurance cover for all activities involving children and adults undertaken in the name of this parish. Display in the church premises and on the parish website the details of who to contact if there are any safeguarding concerns or support needs. Listen to and take seriously all those who disclose abuse. Take steps to protect children and adults when a safeguarding concern of any kind arises, following House of Bishop guidance, including notifying the diocesan safeguarding manager and or statutory agencies immediately. Offer support to victims, survivors of abuse, regardless of the type of abuse, when or where it occurred. Following advice from the diocesan safeguarding manager, support and manage the safe involvement of any member of the church community who may pose a risk to children and adults while maintaining appropriate confidentiality and the safety of all parties. Ensure that procedures and risk assessments are in place and that they are reviewed annually. Review the implementation of the safeguarding policy, procedure and practices at least annually. Each person who works within the church community will agree to abide by this policy, the Church of England safeguarding policies and practice guidance, and the procedures guidelines established by this church. So we don't need a proposer and seconder because as the rector I will propose that we adopt this statement in full. Do you agree? All in favour? Thank you. Any questions or comments on our safeguarding position as we stand as a church? No? Good. Here we come to our church life report. Hopefully you've all got sight of a copy of one of these. It is a joy and a delight to put this together. It's lovely to be able to join in with all that God has been doing. You'll see the aims and the purposes of the document, and then there is the church Wardens report and various others. I'm going to walk through them as we go. Hopefully you've had a chance to flick through. If anyone has any questions for the sections as we go, please do let me know. So in the church Wardens report, are there any comments or suggestions or questions that anyone has of the church Wardens? Nope. Good. And our growing groups, any questions or comments on those so far? Jolly good. The music report. I'd like to add my thanks to Pam and all of the musicians and all those who have enabled us to worship joyfully and musically over the last year. An amazing summary of all the... I just love this picture. Isn't that brilliant? Green spaghetti on the head. I think we need a service where green spaghetti on the head is a feature. But it's wonderful to celebrate all that has happened in the life of our children and families' work. And special thanks to Beth and all the amazing things that she and the team have been able to do and the volunteers that she supports. So thank you to Beth for that. That definitely needs a round of applause. Are there any questions or comments of Beth for the work of Small Saints? Just amazing. So good to read, so much wonderful stuff. There's a helpful piece about rotas. In fact, I think I might have made the joke about what's the similarity between a church and a helicopter at the annual meeting last year. If you get too close, you get sucked into the rotas. More of that later. It is a joy to read a youth report for the first time. How amazing that this time last year we had Lucy share something of the vision God had given her to start our youth ministry that has flourished and has been joyful. And thank you to Lucy and the team and everyone who's been involved in making that happen on a Wednesday evening and all the great things they've done. Thank you to Lucy. Clap. You'll notice in the safeguarding report more details, and we're grateful to Debbie and Pam for all the work that they have done to enable us to get to where we are with our safeguarding procedures, which is really good news. Anyone got any further questions on that based on the report and the details we have in the report? No, that's good. It's always good to have a picture of the bishop in your annual report, isn't it? And a lovely smiling photo of Bishop David with Ali and with Wendy as they received their bishop's permission to preach, and some more information on that, which is very good news. Well done to both of you. Round of applause to them. We're grateful to have the report from the Friends of St Andrews as well. This is a very exciting year for the Friends of St Andrews. The last weekend in June, there will be a festival in St Andrews celebrating the life of the Friends and all that happens in and around that church. And there's lots and lots of activities planned. There's Friday, the school are going over. There's they're going to be flowers and all sorts of fun and exciting things for them. We're hoping to have a talk from Dan about butterflies and wildlife, and there's a botanist coming to speak. There's music and food and celebration. We're going to perhaps put a scratch choir together. We're going to yomp over from the 10:30 service on the Sunday morning over to St Andrews, and we'll gather in time for a Taizé short service before we have sharing a big lunch, a hog roast and vegetarian options, and then afternoon tea before the Friends gathering at 3:00. It's going to be a wonderful thing. But there's lots going on in the life of the church. It says 2011 was due to be the 60th anniversary. That was 2021 as a correction of the report. We have received Eco Church bronze status in the last 12 months, which is very good. Thank you to Clive for his work leading on that. We definitely need to go for silver. Definitely need to go for silver. Vanessa's benefice has got silver. We need to sort that out. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely do. So as you'll see in the report, we are one of only 33, We are one of only 33 churches within the diocese that have bronze award. There's a further 16 with silver or gold. So we're in a very rarefied group already. But more importantly, we're not that far away from getting our silver award. It needs though to be embedded in everything the church does. It can't just be a fill in a questionnaire, yes, we've met that, and then we move on. It's actually got to be our life, our soul, our culture. So actually what we do need is not just someone to log on to Eco Church and mark the progress that we're making, but actually we need people, and as many people as possible, to help drive that forward. So the meeting we had with 8 people in November was really helpful. More would be welcome, and more to help drive it forward. But we do, on a practical basis, need someone to register as well for Eco Church on the website, because it's not an onerous thing. It's not a difficult thing. I can even help you log on to it if that's helpful. You can have more than one person, so everyone can be logged on if they want to see the progress. There are some limitations to the website, so don't worry about it. I'm happy to talk you through it. But it's a journey that we are logging through Eco Church, not about Eco Church itself.
Thank you very much. I want silver. Let's get silver. Or gold. Let's get gold. The bits and pieces in my report we will come back to in the Rector's Charge in a little bit, and we'll come to the financial information in a second. There's a couple of things, a couple of omissions. One, I forgot to mention that Beth also got commissioned this year. It's always good to have photos of smiling bishops in your annual report. Here's another one that's not actually in the report, but that's the night that Beth received her commission as a bishop's commission for mission in children's and families work. It's quite a long title. Very wide business card. Yay, well done, Beth. And something else, I couldn't find a good photo of you, Clive. But something else I meant to say. Something else I meant to say in the annual report is that this will be Clive's last annual meeting with us. Because in... have you seen this man? In stealing our stepladder. In July, Clive is going to be ordained, which is incredibly exciting. And we've loved having Clive with us, and we pray for Clive and Judith and Isaac and as they begin that next phase of their life and move to St. Luke's in Hedge End with the amazing Ben, who is who will be an amazing training incumbent, and the lovely Liz, who's there as a curate already. And we will do this properly nearer the time, but I think it's worth marking at our annual meeting your involvement with us as a benefice, and we're very grateful to that, so thank you. Continue to pray for Clive and the family. On the Sunday morning, it's slightly serving two purposes, but on that Sunday morning, when Clive is ordained, we're not going to meet here. We're all going to go to the cathedral. Let's worship in the cathedral that day and be there as Clive is ordained.
Which is the
3rd of July, and you're the 10:30 service. There won't be a service in St Andrews that day either, because the week before would have been the festival. So we will have had plenty of worship in St Andrews that month, and so all of us can travel to the cathedral for 10:30 to support Clive and all of the other ordinands who are being ordained as well that weekend. Okay, just to before I commend the church life report to you all and ask that we would, for proposer and seconder, that this would be a true and accurate record of our life, we need to just touch on the financial information. I'm very grateful to Katie for being our treasurer and all the sterling work that Katie does. A huge round of applause for Katie. Thank you very much. The summary of our financial position is in the document, as well as the agreed accounts and the independent examiner's report. Do anyone have any questions of those, and also the accounts for the Friends of St Andrews as well that are in the penultimate page? Any financial questions or comments? I would just like to say thank you to all of you for your generosity. Everything that we do as the people of God gathered is enabled by the giving of those people who are members. If you're not currently a member of the parish giving scheme, could I encourage you to look into that? It is certainly the best way, the most efficient way for us to be able to administer our gifts, and we give out of the goodness of all that God has already given to us. Nobody ever knows what it is that people give in any way, but everything we do, every candle that we light, every wafer that we give at communion, every piece of green spaghetti, every light bulb that we switch on is funded entirely out of the generosity of those people who are members of the church. And as always, finances are tight, our bills are going up, there's a huge ask on all of us, and I know that now is never a good time to be asking for more money, but if you are able to increase your gift, if you're able to give that you don't already, then we would be very grateful, because it is through the generosity of all of us that we are able to be church. Because without that, then nothing would happen. God is always gracious and generous. And you'll see in the report the description of what happened when we had the community party. And we did that in faith. And we booked a hog roast and we invited the whole world. And the whole world showed up. And A, there was enough food, which is an actual miracle. And B, it was paid for, which is also an actual miracle. God is always good and always generous. And we're very grateful for all that you do. So any other questions from our finance perspective? Thank you again, Katie, for all that you have done. And then the last task we need to do as part of our meeting is we need to appoint our independent examiner again. Are we happy for this? Is the same person willing to be our independent examiner? Jolly D. Are we happy for the person who has independently examined our accounts to independently examine them again next year? Yes. Thank you. Would someone like to propose that they are the person that does that? Thank you, Stella. Would someone like to second that our independent examiner independently examines our accounts? Thank you, Pam. All in favour? Hooray! Jolly good. So that is our look back, and I commend the reports to you. And with love and joy, we celebrate all that God has done and look forward to all that God is doing in the future. There's a couple of things I just want to highlight to us and to explore and to I guess, paint a picture of where I believe God is calling us to and what it means to be All Saints and St Andrews, what it means to be the people of God gathered here and all it is that we do. Well, firstly, as we've said all the way along, and particularly from me, thank you. Thank you for all that everybody has done. Thank you for your time and your talents. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your love and your life and your liveliness. Thank you. I love being the rector here. It's joyful. As we remind ourselves of who we are, what does it mean to be all saints? It means that we are rooted in God's kingdom and in our community. And this last 12 months, we have seen that more and more. We've been active and alive in the community in which we serve as we play our part in building God's kingdom. We are living in faith and in hope. We are hopeful people. We are faithful people. It's a joy to meet on a Sunday and a Wednesday and a Thursday morning and a Saturday morning to pray. And we are growing. We're growing numerically. We're growing in our discipleship. We're growing in our outreach and in all that we can do. We are growing in the light and the love of Christ. And it is just wonderful. And everything we do. The reason that Disprin logo is on everything that we produce is because it says what we are. We are all saints. Living. Rooted. Living. Growing. And we're part of that wider benefice. And we're part of the communities that we serve. Now, last year, we looked at all the sorts of things that we do. We looked at the various different activities that need to be done, whether that's in involving creating social stuff or delivering or preaching or sermons or leading study groups or being involved in the tech, or whether that's about planning and rotas, or whether you've got a skill in writing or helping to produce the magazine, whether the eco-church piece is your initiative, whether there's maintenance, whether there's hospitality, whether there's singing, whether there's music, whether there's baking cakes, whether there's serving people coffee, whether there's, I don't know what the chap on the top left is doing, I can't remember what he was, skipping, whether skipping is part of your praying, whether prayer is something that you are called to, absolutely, whether there's feeding others. And as we thought about all the things that are part of the life and liveliness of the church, as we thought about all the things that we are part of, we came up with 3 priorities. We said that our focus for the last year was going to be our community, was going to be the environment, and my discipleship, my individual, not me, us, each of us taking responsibility for our own discipleship and the ways that we might do that. And we looked at that and thinking about the community. Well, I think the community party, the confirmation and baptism service that happened in September, was just the most joyful visual representation of that in its entirety. Welcoming the new head teacher to the community, all that I've talked about with all the food. I don't think I will ever baptize people like that in the same way, quite like that, ever again. The fact that everybody either was baptized or renews their baptism vows, stood in a pool with Bishop David, who then confirmed everyone at the same time. What a wonderful thing. I had no idea what was going on that night. I couldn't tell you where we were in the liturgy. He kept moving around all over the place. Everything kept changing. It was completely chaotic and hilarious. And it was my favorite night of everything we've done as church, because it was everything that we are. The community of God, serving the community where God places us. We are also Bronze Award holders of Eco Church. Woo! So that was our second focus. The first one was community. The second one was the environment. And we made great strides towards that last year. We need to do more of that again. And then our own individual discipleship. Well, the Alpha course ran. That enabled the baptism and confirmation service to happen, because there was a load of people who wanted to be baptized and a load of people who wanted to be confirmed. That was amazing. And we've also got 2 groups going already, and more that I think want to start too. So there's a group on a Monday night that Jacob and Sam are involved in. Us at Sam's house. And then there's a group that's been meeting on a Wednesday night through Lent, and I think would like to continue as well. And if you'd like to start a group or go to a group on a different day, if you could run a group on a Wednesday sometime, or after the worship, or on a Saturday lunchtime, or whenever would make sense for you to meet and gather. We can find material, there's always things from a Sunday that we can explore and unpack. There are ways that we can do this. But this is about us, not me, creating groups for people to go to. This is about us, the community of people gathering and growing together. We can administer it. We have an administrator now. The Lord be praised. Denise is amazing. Everything is getting better. I am much happier. We can administer things. We can help support. But our growing groups need to be things that we do, not that the rector does, because this is about us gathering and growing together with our friends and helping others to join as well. So they were the things that we came up with from the list last year of all the stuff that is involved in being church. But there's so much more on here. There's so much more that we would be able to do. And, that used to say, we are all saints, in very big green letters across the front, like it does in the magazine. You probably have picked up on this already, but there's a reason why it says we are all saints. We're not just telling the community that we are all saints. They might know that already. Quite often people come in and say, oh, I preferred it with pews. They know where the building is. Everyone has an opinion on the building. That's not what this is about. It says we are all saints in the magazine because we are all saints. We are the communion of saints. We are the people of God gathered here. We, us, you and me. Look, have a look around. Hello, people. Everyone turn around and wave at the people on the camera. They won't be able to see you, but they might stick your hands up high. There you go. We are all saints. Us. So what are we going to do this next year? Rooted, living and growing as we are. Well, I think there are two things. I think the first thing is we need to together to think about what are we going to restart. There's a whole load of stuff that since the pandemic we don't do anymore. We used to do tea and cake on a Tuesday afternoon. That doesn't happen. We used to meet and have coffee every Saturday morning. We pray on a Saturday morning now. This is very good news. But there's no reason why we can't also have coffee. It might be that that isn't something that God is calling us to. But there must be things, perhaps things from before my time, things that are part of the history of us as the people of God gathered here. What do we need to do again that we haven't done? What are the things that are going to re-spark our community engagement? Maybe it's the stuff that happened just before the pandemic. We're going to do a barn dance for Harvest. We're going to think about doing the Highcliff's Got Talent again. I played in a Rocky Okie band for a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying they'd come and do that for us here so we could put on an evening where people can sing to live bands. We can do the social, gathered, fun. But what else? What isn't happening today that needs to happen? So that's the task, that's the challenge, the charge to the PCC, but actually to all of us through the represented elected members who we talked about earlier. Directly to me, through Wendy or Sam or Stella, or into Denise, or to Beth or Lucy. If there's something that we can be doing that we used to do that was part of this life and liveliness that we need to restart, then let's hear what that is. And then maybe it's a lunch club. Maybe it's soup. Maybe it's evening services. Maybe it's Taizé. What are we going to restart? But then also, what needs to be renewed? What are the things that we do? What are the traditions and the patterns that we've fallen into that maybe are not fit for purpose now? The ways that we are. Are there things about how we are that have been grown up since the pandemic that need to change? That were fit for purpose for a while but aren't fit for purpose anymore? What are the things, the activities, the hospitality, the AV, the welcoming, the serving coffee, the putting the chairs out and putting them away again? What are the things that are happening but are not happening well? What are the things that we can smarten up and do better? Because this is all about building the kingdom. Using our shared gifts and talents, the things that God has already blessed us with. Bishop David says when he licenses people, you get the priest you pray for. So thank you for praying for me. I am the priest you apparently are praying for. whatevs. Pray harder? I don't know. But, but that's also true for us. We are the people that we pray for. If we want more people to come, we need to pray for them. How do we renew our prayer life such that we continue the growth that we heard about in the electoral roll? What brings that new life and new birth into our community? A couple of really super practical things around that. You'll hear me bang on about this a lot. This is a picture of iKnow. Many of you may have an iKnow login. Some of you may get an email from iKnow every now and again. Some of you might look at it and go, what the chuff is that? Well, this bit in the middle is the bit I want to highlight to you. These are the rotas that I am on. And this I took this screenshot last night. It told me that tomorrow, so that's today, I was the celebrant at the Holy Communion service at 9 o'clock and the preacher. And a bit further down, it also tells me I was preaching here at this service as well. These are the things that are coming up in church. Small Saints, our shared coffee, midweek communion on Wednesday. This gives us the overview of what being part of the life of the church is all about. It's where we gather together in teams. So our small groups are held in here. Everyone who connects with the church in any way. Do you know I sent the annual report this morning to 331 people? 331 people who are on the list in iKnow, who have given us permission to contact them, who have said and maintained that permission to contact them, who have touched our community in the however long we've been using this, couple of years since iKnow's been going. It's a huge number. 331 different emails received that, because if you contact us about a wedding or a baptism or a funeral, if you connect with us via Small Saints or via the youth group, every contact that we have, every little nurtured new shoot of a faith journey, as well as all of our shared life together, all exists in here. This is the place where we know who's doing what on a Sunday. This is the place where I could look up and go, Jacob's leading the prayers this morning. I wonder if he's going to get here, because he was quite late last night. This is the place where we know. And it can email you. So you can set it up to do this however you like. It emails you and says, and by the way, on Sunday, you're doing something. By default, it emails you 3 days before. If 3 days before is no good and you want to have it emailing you earlier, then you can say to it, actually, I need to know that information a week in advance. Any ticketed event, anything that we do, this is the heartbeat of our administration. This is where we exist. This is where all of our service records are. This is where we know who did what, where, and when. This is how we know that we have grown. This is where we look after our safeguarding as far as the relationships between children and adults and how that all works and hangs together. This is how we can communicate the gospel. This is how we can say to a baptism family in 3 years' time, we're going to have a celebration of baptism. Would you like to come? This is how we'll be able to say to everybody who has had a funeral in the last 12 months, would you like to come and commemorate those whom we love and see no longer? So I know that you look at me and go, it's tech. He's a techie guy. But actually, this is how we are able to do what we do. And it's really important that as we find ways to step in to serve and help, as we find ways to be part of the life and the liveliness of the congregation, I can't communicate with each of you individually in the way that you choose to be communicated with individually. It's exhausting. It's not a good use of Deniz's time to do that during the week either. So that we have a platform and a way of being involved. Most of the time you don't have to go anywhere near it. You wouldn't even need to look at this. You just get an email saying, I'm on the rota that day. We can print the rotas off. You don't have to use it electronically. But it is important in how we work that enables us to do what we do. So that we can be continuing in that kingdom building stuff. Preach. Thank you. No, that's really helpful. Thank you, Beth. For those of you watching online, Beth just said that she it's a real vote of support for the tool, and apart from a couple of, it doesn't have a back button, but it does mean that things can be used. Thank you. This one is a bit more techie. This is just a screenshot of our this thing called Slack. If you want to know what's going on all the time, and you want to get in contact with me, this is the way to do it. It's brilliant. We can share stuff, you can go back, and it's like WhatsApp for church. If you like using WhatsApp, this is a cool way to do it. Come and see me afterwards. I'll get you hooked up onto Slack. You can join in with all sorts of things. So whatever you'd like to be involved in, then this is a good way of, and it can be on your phone, or you can look at it on your computer, or whatever it might be. This is great. So you can see that there last night, what does it say? Hey all. The Church Life Report is ready for tomorrow. I have printed some off tonight and can do more tomorrow if needed. I'm excited for the APCM. Do you think I'm excited about the APCM? Are you excited about the APCM? Absolutely. Next year for our APCM, I think we should do it where we can also eat together. Let's make it a bit more of a celebration, a bit more of a party. Anyway, that's enough. I've waffled on for long enough. Our focus for this year. What are we going to renew? What are we going to restart? And can I encourage you to be as involved as you possibly can be in the things that give you life and liveliness? I don't mean that you need to do stuff that bores the pants off you or is a burden. Actually, if we're going to have life in all its fullness, it's about us discovering what it is God has called us to, all that he has made us to be able to do. And to do that to the best of our ability. And when we do that, the kingdom comes and lives are changed. Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and if there is anything that is worthy of praise, think about these things. Keep on doing the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, says Paul. And the God of peace will be with you. That's what we aim for. The end. Nearly. Any other business, Stella?
I think it's become a bit of a tradition at the end of the APCM to say a thank you to Mike. Looking back, last year, as Mike's common tenure role came to the end on the 4th of July, when Mike originally came, he was given 3 years here. And it was down to the wire, really, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, first.
And on the 1st of July last year, Mike was licensed here. We were still in restrictions, and there couldn't be many of us here. But we were all asked, weren't we, if we wanted Mike to be our rector. And we all said yes on your behalf.
Well, I don't know that, please.
No. And then when we had the confirmation and great baptism that I don't think anybody will ever forget, the bishop again asked us, so more people were able to say, yes, we do want Mike as our rector. Now, Mike says he loves being the rector here. I think we love having Mike as our rector. Thank you, Mike. We also love having all the family. It's great that a rector's family comes and is part of worship. It doesn't always happen in parishes, but it is great, and thank you all. And a big thank you to Molly. I don't know if she's watching, maybe she is, but yes, but I think, yeah. And I would just like to say, this shows what has happened. Things have happened in lockdown, before lockdown, but I think since lockdown, how much has been achieved and how many people have done things with encouragement. I always say, don't suggest anything to Mike because next minute he'll be doing it. True?
True, yeah.
Anyway, I just want to say thank you, Mike, for being our rector.
Thank you. Any other business? No one's notified me of anything. Anyone want to? 3rd of July at 10 o'clock is the ordination service in the cathedral. Otherwise, you'll arrive just as. It's a funny note to end on. I wonder if I guess in summary, all of our challenge could be summed up like this. Do you remember the Carols by Candlelight service this last year? And Pam led the choir beautifully, and the place was full, absolutely rammed full of people. It was lovely, and it was a joyful thing. Just before the service started, my mum went into the cupboard and got a trolley of chairs and moved the chairs to the back so other people could sit down because there wasn't enough space for people to sit down. I wonder if next year we might be able to do that. I wonder if next year we might be the ones who are looking and seeing and spotting and noticing that we are known because we welcome everybody. We make sure they can sit down. So that when people arrive after the service has started, there's someone who can come and say, there are seats here, come and sit down. I think that might help us in all it is that God is calling us to. Let me pray. Loving God, we praise you and we thank you for all that you have done in and through us in these last 12 months. We ask that you would continue to inspire us and lead us and guide us in all that we do. Holy Spirit, would you speak to us over these next few days and weeks as we prepare for the next PCC meeting to start? Would you speak to all of us about those things that need to restart and those things that need to be renewed? That together we might discern your will, live out your calling in each one of our lives, that we might become the best versions of those you've called us to be, that your kingdom would come, that your will would be done here in Highcliffe as it is in heaven. Amen. Amen. You're free. Next year, we'll celebrate with something to eat now, or have the meeting at another time. Definitely not the second Sunday after Easter. This meeting is not happening here ever again. Oh, before Easter.